Hi there, I'm Stephen Lepitak, Executive Editor of The Drum, and you join me for another episode of A Cup of Tea With. And for this episode, where I have a cup of tea with a very prominent member of the media and marketing community, I'm lucky enough, in fact privileged enough, to be speaking to Syl Saller, the outgoing Chief Marketing Officer of Diageo, who tells me I'm going to be the last person to interview on this job, so I better get it right. Hey, Syl, how are you getting on?
Hey, Stephen, I'm good. And I didn't say you better get it right. You will, I'm sure.
How are you getting on in terms of, I mean, we're, month 3 or 4 of the craziest times of our lives. We've all been stuck at home. How are you finding that?
Surprisingly okay. I mean, I'm more of an introvert than I seem. So, another night at home is okay, great. I think, like for everybody in the beginning, it was hard, it was shock, it was unknown. And I was very aware, having planned my retirement from Diageo for a long time, and really planned to be able to go around the world and, wrap up some business, say goodbye to people. After more than 2 decades, I'd be kind of quietly slipping away. And that was really disappointing at first, but that only lasted like a week, because then the enormity, of what we are facing, both in terms of, the health and economic crisis hits you, and you get your head around that. And I always find I'm a little bit better in a crisis, because my attention turns outward, and what I felt was I need to get a grip. I need to get a grip on myself to be able to help our people, to lead, and do the right things for the business. And I'm really pleased that in general at Diageo, we just got our value survey scores, and the feedback has been, it's not perfect. There's still things we can do better, which is always good to see. But the value survey score, the pride that people have in working for Diageo and how we've handled, the lockdown, working from home, our teams, the scores have been off the charts. And it was really gratifying to look back and see the decisions that you're taking, without knowing what's happening, seem to be the right ones so far.
What then, in terms of your role then in the last few months, what has been the biggest, I mean, obviously working from home has been the biggest change, but from all that you've done at the company, what has been the biggest piece of innovation that you've had to introduce in the last 3 months?
I'm trying to think if it's innovation. Obviously the working from home stuff is what people talk about. That's not really new to us. I mean, I've had a global job for a long time, and so I've spent a lot of time on Zoom, just to connect with teams all over the world. So I think it's the idea of, in response to the crisis, sprint teams, which we've used in the past, but really saying, in many cases where we have gaps in the team, right, and we're not necessarily going to be hiring right now, saying, how do we redeploy people really quickly to be working on the most important things, to be able to emerge from the crisis stronger. And, I'd love to talk about how we've been doing that, because I think there's so much opportunity amidst the crisis for what we're learning.
Please tell me a bit more. I mean, what I've learned from talking to people over the last few months is that, I mean, it's no surprise how important communications has been, but we've also seen CEOs try to step up quite early to show that it's all about their staff, the health of their staff, and then. But that, I mean, some of that resonated, some of it didn't. I mean, there's been so many interesting communications lessons in the last few months, and you as a leader of over 1,000 marketers all around the world, how have you been communicating with those teams?
The answer is frequently. And, it's not unusual for our CEO to step up. I mean, he has done that all along, and he's a massive leader of our culture. And the same too with us as an exec team, right? Our connection to the communities all over the world, whether we're in market or not, is unbelievably important. What we did was we accelerated it. I mean, I did a session very early on coping personally in the lockdown. I mean, I do a lot of external coaching and internal coaching, as you know, and I thought, what coping strategies can I bring to people that they might find really useful, and wanted to make a big contribution there. But a lot of my communications, I don't think it's as interesting what I have to say as what the teams have to say. And so we started with teams all over the world, and we do this every other week where, some market or global team in the world shares the strategies that they're doing. And these sessions have been incredible. You get 700-800 marketers, right? I mean, most of the team online for a live session. The team shows the work. The work is just unbelievable. And then people are inspired, to see what they can do. And the chat function is what keeps it alive, right? Because you've got people, I mean, one of my big things has always been, don't reinvent, find out what's happening in the world before you, create whatever you're creating. And all of a sudden, just on the chat, you say, I love that idea. Can you send me that? Do we have global rights to that? Can I use that in my market? And the pride that's generated, and the sense of one community, because I don't distinguish between global and local, right? We're just one big team, has been incredible. So if other CMOs aren't doing this, really putting their teams in the spotlight and letting them show their inspirational work, I really recommend it. And I'm sure my amazing successor, Christina, is going to continue because it's really working.
Before I forget as well, as part of the Can Do Festival, which is running as part of running as part of the Drums offer to try and help the industry overcome these issues, we've just announced that Guinness was the winner of the Investment and Brand Award at the Drum Marketing Awards, and I wonder your viewpoint on what's been so successful about the marketing of Guinness that it deserves that award. I mean, you have had a huge role to play in that yourself. So before I come to talking about your own self, could I ask you a bit about Guinness and your point of view on it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions I've been asked a lot in these kinds of interviews have been, the usual, what's the highlight of the work or of the brand? And, and I always feel like that is, okay, so which of your children do you love the most? When I think about our global brands, and we'd be here for hours, I could talk about 72's work on Smirnoff, which always has like a twinkle in the eye and humor and wit. Mother on Bailey's, which has, occasion focused, lit the screen deliciousness, has absolutely turned the brand around. Anomaly's repositioning on Johnny Walker has been incredible. It makes it so bright and modern and brilliant. And if you've seen the at-home work, on Captain from Anomaly, it's been hilarious. A Zoom call with ginger ale, lemon, and orange, just so simple, but really light relief in lockdown. But Guinness, I think if you had to look for the most consistently great work, from Diageo, and consistency, as we all know in brand building, is really important. Consistency of quality of the work. You have to call out Guinness. I remember before UDV and Guinness merged, and I was the UDV marketing director, I was sitting at home and Surfer came on this TV, and I was like, what is that? That's amazing. And then we could go on to the endless list of great, not only ads, but ideas, the storehouse, everything we're doing in that space. And from my time as CMO, I was hugely proud of things like Sapeurs, Lioness, the Guinness Clear work, all big winners. at Cannes. A lot of people know that even though I don't understand much about sports, I care deeply about diversity and inclusion. So the Gareth Thomas work, Never Alone, where he was, and it's Pride Month, right? He talked about his struggle to go public about his sexuality, and it really was the support of his team. So Guinness has always stood for power, goodness, and communion. And different things have been emphasized at different times, but the consistency of staying with that core, that authentic core, is what I think makes the brand truly great. And thank you for recognizing the brand.
It was an easy decision, I have to say. They were a phenomenal win. I got to sit with the jury while going through it, and there was a list of about 10 brands, but it was such a quick decision. So yeah, we're pleased with the outcome of that. So coming to yourself, can I check as well? I forgot to ask, what are you drinking? What have you got? What are you enjoying?
Well, it's tea, not one of our amazing beers or spirit, and it is caramel green tea, which is a kind of a bizarre combination, but I love it. I am American, as we can all tell, but I have adopted the many British tea customs, to the point where we all know, this habit. This does not happen in America, where if you go get a cup of tea, you have to say to everybody, who wants a cup of tea? And then, bring back 5 teas or whoever's in the house. So I've gotten used to that. I'm very good at making tea.
So you're part of the tea round. That's good to hear.
I am.
Well, so what I want to try and go over with you is your 20 years at Diageo as it comes to an end, but let's start with why have you chosen now to make that departure? I mean, obviously you decided that long before any of this happened. And I do wonder, did you think for maybe a moment, maybe I shouldn't leave now? Well, probably you could, but why now? Why is this the time to bow out?
Yeah, I mean, I was really glad that the announcement came, it wasn't after COVID had really started, because I wouldn't have wanted to feel like I was abandoning ship. But I completely have confidence in Christina and the team taking it on. So as you know, Stephen, this CMO role is a very big CMO role, because it not only has, things like digital and media and the service element to it, but it has the brands, it has innovation, R&D, our luxury business, design. It's really a difficult job to get your head around. So I feel like I was working on developing a team that could succeed me almost since I began, because I love this company. You've heard that from me before, and I wanted to make sure we left it in great hands, and I believe we have. The whole Diageo executive and the marketing leadership team are really ready to carry on. And that was a big part of my decision, particularly in terms of the ML team and succession. Now, the incumbent never picks succession, but if you don't know Christina, you can see why I'm so pleased for her, right? She takes over, next month. She's got an incredible team that supports her, and she has a deep understanding. She's worked all over the world. She has a deep understanding of brands, markets, and, how it all operates. She is hugely respected, and she has a really deep compassion for people. So I think she's driven by performance and creativity, and she brings together the qualities that Diageo needs to chart a new future in terms of pace, agility, and boldness. So it's very unusual, to leave a job you love. Usually you get to the point where you think, okay, I'm really tired of this a little bit, I need to do something different. That wasn't the case for me. What I realized was that I was not going to be able to chart the next decade until I stopped, because Diageo is all consuming, right? I mean, it's a company and brands that you have complete passion for. So you literally could work round the clock if it weren't for friends and family. And I came off, for example, the Domino's board of directors, because we took out the regions, and I really needed to hit the road for like 80–90% of the time, to make sure that our local teams and our global teams were in great shape to do it, to do great work without that middle layer. And it wasn't fair, to anybody. I never do anything by halves. So it wasn't fair for me to try to split my time. But once we got that settled, Ivan started saying to me, right, so Syl, you're thinking about another board. I think this is great experience for you to add to your executive role of having this external perspective. And I realized I really hadn't done anything on that. So if I was going to do anything to chart the next decade, which I'm so excited about, I had to stop. So it's really that combination of feeling like we have a team in place that is going to, take things way beyond where I ever could, and needing to have a bit of time for myself and to think.
It's such a big decision, though. That must have. How long did it take you to make?
Oh, well, I'm 63 next week, and a lot of British executives retire at kind of 55. So one of the questions I've been asked, for quite a while now is, when are you going to stop? Now, in American context, it's a really bizarre question, right? Because people generally work until they're 65. But I've had to think about it. So I'd say, I feel like I really started working on succession, a year or two into the job, once we got the ship steady, and working steadily on it, because you don't work on it by just coaching people. You work on it by giving them increasing amounts of responsibility, overwhelming amounts of responsibility, so they can feel what it's like to handle this. But it was a couple of years of thinking, chatting to my husband, to get to a decision.
Yeah, I can't imagine it came easily either. But I then have to ask them, what will happen next then? What do you hope the next decade you will achieve? Where next?
I'm incredibly relaxed about it, which is surprising. It's the first time in my career I've had to plan something, with kind of a blank sheet of paper. There's nothing I have to do. And people are surprised to hear that I didn't chart my career by saying, I want that job next and that job and that job. I mean, I come from humble circumstances, so that by the time I was a brand manager, I was like, whoa, this is already more than I ever expected. So my focus has always been doing a good job on the job that I'm in. And then that ended up being recognized, and I often got pulled into the next role. So now it's for me to decide. And everyone always said you're going to have a million opportunities, and the rough areas are, I'm interested in, really interesting non-executive roles, and I'm going to be very selective about that. So it's not just enough that it's, Fortune 500 or FTSE 100. Really has to be a business that I'm passionate about, where I really feel like I can add value. But as you know, I care also really deeply about leadership development. So stepping into the, executive coaching, C-suite coaching work as an extension of the work I've loved doing with the Marketing Academy is really exciting to me. And then, but what I've been surprised at is how quickly people have started calling. And then what I've realized is, I'm still going to take the calls, but I actually need a bit of time to sort of, and yes, if something comes along that is right, you do it. But I'd really like some time to rest, to reflect, and figure out the priorities, because already I'm on the board of the Marketing Academy. I'm still president of the Marketing Society, things that I love. And those agendas are pretty big. So it's just figuring out what's the priority of things and which really are the best opportunities.
So what are you going to do with a bit of spare time then? Surely that's something you're not used to.
This is the family joke, right? Because my husband overhears me talking to headhunters or companies on the phone, and I say, I'm going to take a bit of time to rest. I've never really done that. And he like literally walks by, and I can hear in the background, he starts laughing. So one thing I've done is I've booked 2 weeks away, and to just one pretty early on in the UK, to just feel what it feels like to sit on a beach and think about and read a book. I mean, I'm, as you know, a big fan of the Women's Prize for Fiction. I was a trustee for the prize, so I've got to read the whole shortlist by September. So I'm going to chill. That's the plan. I'm going to take the relevant calls, and I'm just going to let it percolate. But we'll see. Call me a month after and say, so how's it going? Because I feel like I need to prove to people I can rest.
I can't imagine you're off for 2 weeks to Blackpool Beach, though. I hope you're going somewhere nice.
Listen, the answer to where we go is really simple. I will go wherever my kids want to go. Right. So still having family holidays when your kids are, 26 and 31 is a feat. But it's the most precious time for me. So whatever they want is where we'll go. And we're going down to Salcombe for a week, and we've got another week booked up in Sussex. And who knows, maybe we'll go away for the whole month of August. If it weren't for lockdown, I'd probably spend the entire 3 months visiting the national parks in the States, because it's a real spiritual home for me to just be in that kind of nature.
That's a great idea, actually. That sounds lovely. To go then, to look back over the 20 years, what would you say has been, what would you look back and say, this is the one achievement that I will take away and say, well done to myself for doing that?
I can't, it's so hard to name just one. I would say the big theme is the opportunity to transform things. So, because for me, making things incrementally better just isn't interesting. It's not what I've done. So in fact, one of the reasons I joined Diageo was the company was only 2 years old, right? People don't realize that, the company was formed in 1997. So the opportunity to be part of a team that was going to create a new culture, transform something completely new there, was amazing. I feel like many people have heard the transforming innovation story, from being kind of a once a decade hit with Bailey's or Ciroc or Tanqueray 10 to a steady stream of growth that, accounts for, so much of our results, has been really important. And then, I mean, these stories are well known. The work on equality and gender, and to try with other companies, right? Because I don't think we do anything alone to make a difference in the marketplace, has been a huge, huge opportunity. But at the core of all of that is, and I don't consider this my accomplishments, but it is the greatest highlight, is our marketing team and our talent. So having the core of the agenda be focusing on, developing great marketers who go across 200 brands in 180 countries has been the most rewarding and successful, thing for me. I mean, I think growing people is the most important part of a CMO job, and the opportunity that has been major, whether it's, the big themes of collaboration between global and local, or the individual coaching of people, has been terrific. And being part of Diageo's journey, and you know, it hasn't been sort of a recent faddish thing. It really has been probably 18 years that we've started and then have ramped up the discussion on not only brand purpose, but company purpose. You know, so to get people rooted in the company purpose, celebrating life every day, everywhere. And by that, we don't mean raising a glass. You know, we don't mind if you do, but we do mean contributing to our people, our communities, has been incredibly satisfying. And then the other thing we do that's a little bit different is we have all of our leaders focus on their own personal purpose, which you can define in a big, you know, intellectual way, or you can really get people to think deeply about what energizes them, what gets them out of bed in the morning, to see what the connection is between their purpose and the difference that they're making to our company purpose. And the source of power in that is incredible, because you're not just going to a job every day, you're living your life, you're living your purpose. And that fuels Diageo people, and that's been enormously rewarding and probably the biggest highlight.
Do you have one place in the world that you would visit with Diageo that you'll miss particularly?
Any place that I miss, I plan on visiting. You know, it's as simple as that. So, you know, there has been a bit of talk about what, you know, are we not going to see you? And I'm like, do you think I'm not coming to Dublin to the storehouse? You know, do you think I'm not going to get to Amsterdam, where we have a big hub there? I mean, I can just close my eyes and picture, you know, our hubs, Singapore, New York. And it's been great over the last few months to be able to connect more than ever with them. I mean, the call that we have tomorrow, which is my closing call with the team, to know that we're going to have, you know, 1,000 marketers who have said, yes, they're going to come. I was like, well, I was daunted, actually. Like, what do they want to hear from me that they haven't already heard? But I really want to connect with them. So yeah, I've asked to be on everybody's mailing list so that I can follow the brands, stay connected to them, not in a weird sort of can't let go, you know, CMO way, but my goodness, if you know, the Diageo brands are part of your life and the life of many people on these calls, and the people with whom I've had such long-standing relationships, you know, why would you ever back off or let go of what that stuff means to you?
Yeah, I mean, you've built so much of it, and you're not just going to walk away. You still want to see how that evolves. So I think that's completely understandable. From another point of view, then, is there anything you haven't been able to do? Do you have any regrets that maybe, oh, if I had another year, I would do this?
Well, let me talk about what the team is doing that I've been talking about for a long time, and I've seen unbelievably accelerated in the crisis. So, listen, this is the pandemic is very, very, very serious, right? And I'm very concerned about the economic fallout, which will vary by category. You know, I think our future is robust, and we will use it as a way of reimagining our business to continue to win. But when people talk about things like all the articles, and a lot of your questions have been, how do you see marketing evolving? And if you look at the last 3 months, we've had a fast forward on that evolution. And this will get to the thing that I regret. But well, at a headline level, it's that I think I'd accelerated the notion of reimagining, you know, pace, agility, moving fast, forgetting about process, you know, as much as possible, because it was like a drumbeat for me. But there's nothing like a crisis to really make that happen. So So, for example, I've talked a lot about, VUCA in various talks, but when you think about the level of ambiguity and uncertainty that we have, and how that has accelerated creativity and responsiveness to the consumer, what people need, and service to our communities, it's been just unbelievable. So if I think about how Diageo has done, which I do think is the future of marketing, right? If things calm down, the economy comes back, however long that's going to take, and people don't take these lessons, they're not going to win. So, for example, we have not put time scales on our plans. We talk about things like now, next, and beyond, and what we expect in different phases. And then the different scenarios that could happen by country. We paint different scenarios from an insight perspective of what's going to happen, with consumer trends and socioeconomic trends. And then it's down to the market to choose what's going to, meet their conditions, because Brazil is not Japan, right? But the lessons that people have learned in terms of how to think about their marketing and how to really quickly respond to things can't be lost. I mean, we've also, so in the crisis, for example, our insight said that people need, comfort, they need utility, and they need service. So in terms of comfort, that Guinness ad we ran in the US, on St. Patrick's Day would be an example of that, or user-generated content with people, it was a picture of a couch as the foam on the pint, with the black pint underneath, saying, enjoy your Guinness at home. So simple, without, really lapsing into every COVID ad, kind of stuff. Utility, the recipe work that we do has just been lapped up like crazy. And service, real service. If you think about who are our customers, right? And bartenders, bar owners, restaurants all over the world, and really saying we have a unique role that we can do with them. So supporting them with, things that assist their wages, food vouchers, helplines, virtual training and workshops. So one program, which we've done in a whole bunch of different countries, that will continue. And what's amazing about this is not the program, but how quickly we put it together. Is in the US, it's called Tips from Home. And really simple idea, our bartenders would post recipes, you would make them at home, you'd post your, your cocktail or your beer, whatever you made. And then we would make a donation to the U.S. Bartenders Guild in this particular case. People have really glommed onto that. So then other markets start doing it, and I could go on and on about the different programs, but it's the responsiveness and consumer centricity and idea of service to the community all wrapped into one so fast, and that is going to accelerate hugely.
And so, what, as you leave Diageo, but you don't leave the industry, I'm sure we'll see a lot of you still.
You will.
What will be your words of advice or final words when you're on the call tomorrow? Will you leave any sort of parting words, or what advice would you give to others who either joining Diageo or coming into marketing? What would you say to them?
Well, I have to figure that out between now and tomorrow, and just hope that I'm not in a complete puddle of tears, which I've, known to be. I mean, sometimes when I see ideas that are so great, I cry because I feel overwhelmed by, the creativity that went into that. The word authenticity is perhaps overused, but I think if leaders can engender people bringing their whole selves to work, which is a big agenda for the Marketing Society and the Marketing Academy, and it's the reason that I'm involved with those amazing organizations. I think people lead better lives and they perform better. Because when people have things on their mind that go unspoken, worries about themselves, worries about their families, you know that half their mind is going to be there, and being able to air those, get the help they need, makes an incredible difference. Corporate speak, is just the worst thing in the world. I mean, they did a session in North America where they while people were waiting to get into the Zoom, they put up quotes from Syl Saller, and some of them are like, oh, I said that. But one of them was, life is too short for PowerPoint, and you really want people to have very real conversations. I start every meeting, and this is for 20 years, saying, the purpose of this meeting is not for you to impress me. I already am. Purpose of this meeting is for us to roll up our sleeves and just get amongst it. And that might be whatever the team needs as a team to grow and develop, or it might be, the work that needs working. And I think if we really pay more attention, if we put how our people are feeling and thinking individually and collectively at the core of our agenda, and release them to speak their minds on any issue, and then respond to the issues that they're raising with depth and compassion, it'll make an enormous difference. And I have no doubt that will continue when I leave Diageo, because that's the company that we are. That's how the marketing leadership team has operated. But I just want that to happen everywhere.
Well, good luck, Syl.
Thank you, Stephen. It's been incredibly fun. I suspect this won't be the last time we chat.
I hope not, but also it's been a privilege to talk to you on this. Congratulations on 20 and a half years at Diageo, and good luck in the future. I can't wait to see what it holds. So good luck, Syl.
Thank you very much, and keep walking, everybody.
And thank you to you, the viewer, for tuning in and listening to us for the last half an hour or so. Lots more content like this on The Drum if you keep tabs on there, where we talk to loads of other marketers, but none as lauded as Syl Saller. So that was great. Thanks very much.